So, anyway, Valentine's Day, romantic love, relationships, one of the easiest things to maneuver in this world. That's not been your experience? So, there was a woman standing in front of a full-length mirror. She was not happy with what she saw. She was complaining and saying, you know, I look so old, I look fat, I look ugly. And she looked to her husband, she said, I need you to pay me a compliment. I need you to say something nice to me. And he said, well, your eyesight is darn near perfect. So, ooh. But in our relationships, when we are not understanding where love really is, that it's already within us, then we do kind of look outside for somebody else to meet our needs and reflect back to us what we'd like to see about ourselves. And that's what Martha Beck was saying, you know, we will, if somebody hurt us a long time ago and we felt we weren't lovable or loved, we will start lining up people in our lives trying to get that fixed, get that corrected. And you'll start noticing that there's a pattern. And that's where my journaling has helped me out a lot, because in my relationships I could see where I was, when I was reading back over the years, I just could not tell who the person was I was involved with if I didn't have the name on the page in front of me, because the pattern was so similar every time. But if I hadn't had that, I probably would not have seen my own patterning of trying to bring it back in and fix it this time and fix it this time and fix it this time. And I finally had to acknowledge that I was the common denominator here. And I would journal and ask for guidance about, you know, help me through this, help me to see this differently. I'm stuck, and that's what today's talk is, stuck on you. You know, so it's kind of like, who am I stuck on? What situation am I stuck on in relationships? What's stuck on me? And sometimes we just get a little stuck in this process of evolution. And our relationships are just wonderful for teaching us about ourselves, to learn about ourselves, to learn to love ourselves. It's the perfect way of doing it. And that's all relationships. But our romantic relationships, because we spend different time with those people in our intimate relationships than we do with our boss or our friends, certainly are the accelerated classes of that, would you not say? It's like I'm in the high accelerated class. How do I go back to the remedial? Because I don't feel like I belong in this one, we may find ourselves. And when we're outside of that intimate relationship, we may feel as if we can handle just about everything. And then when we're in it again, it's like, whoa, some of my stuff's coming back up again. Some places that I'm stuck are showing up again. So when I was in one of those many places and I journaled, that's the answer that I got. That, you know, what we are getting stuck on a lot of times is our contrast that's coming up in front of us. In this mutually loving, supportive universe, God land that we live in, it's constantly talking to us and showing us through our feelings what it is that's in alignment with us and what's out of alignment with us. But because we've got this confusion of trying to fix some old hurts in there, when it's out of alignment, it's a lot of times matches perfectly an old hurt. And so what happens is the contrast comes up, it's something that doesn't feel right to us, and instead of stepping out of it and saying, this is not alignment, it's a contrast, I'm going to move over here and find what is more in alignment with me, what feels good, what energizes me and brings joy into my life. Instead, a lot of us at some point in our lives try to stay in that contrast, change what's contrasted, change the other person, fix it, heal it, and may find out we've spent our entire lives doing that. We got caught up and stuck in the contrast. Does that make sense? It made so much sense to me to understand, even though I wrote that in 2006, it does not mean, I got it now. I now see contrast. But when we can start doing that, when we can understand that we are this pure, creative, loving energy, and we're either in the flow of it or we're out of it. And that flow that we're talking about is moving us towards who we really are. The other night in class, in New Beginnings, I was talking about my design background. When you walk into a room, you decide what the focal point of the room is. Like in my living room, I said it's the fireplace. So that when you walk in past the fireplace, or the living room rather, you notice there is the fireplace. And you notice there's candlesticks and there's artwork, and everything makes your eye go to that, and all the furniture around it supports that. And I talked about in this room that this would be the focal point. Everything is supporting us looking up in this direction. But in our own lives, a lot of times, we haven't determined what is our focal point. And that can really help clear things up for us when we understand what our focal point is. So I gave an example. My focal point is my own spiritual evolution, my own sense of connection. Getting deeper and more intimate with that and hearing what's going on in my life all the time. And everything in my life should be supporting that. So if we don't determine what our focal point is, we may just dance all around it. So a lot of you may think, well, Harmony Fellowship is her focal point. It is like a sub-focal point. It is what supports my focal point for myself. And everybody just determines what it is. One person shared that his focal point is to move towards joy. And so all the supporting players in his life and the work that he does should be taking him in that direction. Making sense? Without knowing where we're going, we're making choices sometimes that actually take us away from where we think we'd like to go. So if mine is to understand and have a more intimate, loving connection with my source and to feel that love coming into me, does it make sense for me to place in my life abusers or critics or people that tell me that I'm not lovable and not to trust myself and what it is I'm doing? It would make no sense. So first discovering what is our focal point, where are we heading in our lives? And then to start making conscious choice, simply understanding that these things that we think are problems are this wonderful thing called contrast that says, step over here, step over here. Step away from that and move over here. Don't spend a lot of time in it. Don't get angry at it. Don't get mad at it. Don't kill it. Let it live. It's fine. It was actually on purpose in your life to get you over here. What that person said that seemed like an awful criticism was exactly what was needed to be said to make us take charge and move back towards our focal